Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio, for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Cheryl, W5MOO, Russ, K5TUX, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 585 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. And tonight we have a deep dive episode, so thank you for coming in to join us for that. And we'll have a topic for you here in a second, but before we get to that topic, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves for the on assignment. As usual, Cheryl, W5MOO, I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, and tonight we're going to have like piped in audio and a cool description of a new, well, sort of a fork of a software package that we've talked about many times on this show called SDR++. This is a new version of it that I saw like on the Git repo that the first thing it says is like, this is the non-bloatware version. So I thought it'd be interesting. Bill is the one who's been exploring this, so he's going to tell us all about it and tell us about all the bloat that's been removed and all the new cool things that have been added. And we'll even get to hear some software-defined radio audio during the show tonight. So sit back, relax, and let's let Bill take us on a journey into SDR++ Brown. And first of all, pick a new name. There's an infinite minus one number of things you could have called this application, this fork, and that's probably not the one I would have chosen. But you do you. So anyway, I'll let you go ahead and tell us all about it.
Well, it sounds good, and I am using push to talk, so if I forget to push, then you'll know because I'll be silent. But it'll be cut out, so you won't even hear it. Anyway, yeah, this is a SDR++ Brown, and it's known as a fork. And this is software that allows to display and decode of radio frequency signals on your PC and Android. So if you're familiar with SDR++, this is exactly the same thing. It just has some modifications. To run the software, you need the hardware that can receive radio signals, such as an RTL SDR, an AirSpy, and if you're not lucky enough to have one of those, you can use KiwiSDR or WebSDR to see how it feels. You can try KiwiSDR right in the SDR++ Brown application, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. And why does this fork even exist? Well, according to the author, original SDR++ project is very good, so I am standing on the shoulders of giants. Alexander Ruma and others. Please check out by clicking here, which obviously not here, but click a link or go to sdr++.org or something like that. Yeah, these are his best recommendations for going and seeing that. This fork adds a lot of authentic features that our original author will never include, including the main project. It has also been observed that addition of some features in this fork improves the chances of same features appearance in the main project. So he is attempting to push stuff back into the main project, which some of these features you'll find are somewhat useful, I think. SDR++ Brown is maintaining all original features from the main project, and the synchronization of the source code happens on a regular basis. I believe the last sync was sometime in early June, so not too long ago from the recording of this podcast. Because it is less tested, smaller user base, you can find occasional bugs. And if you happen to see my quick little video I did on SDR++ Brown, you'll see on my particular compiled version that I ran the first time, it crashed when I went in and tried some of the new features. It was probably because of my poor compiling capabilities, which is fine because I kind of expected that to be that way. Let's see here. So let's go over some of the highlights of the fork. And I realized that holding my control key down as the push to talk, also if I scroll my mouse wheel, it zooms in and out the show notes. So not the perfect key I could have picked, but we'll keep it anyway. So one of the first highlights of this fork is improved rendering performance. And what do they mean by that? Well, if you happen to have a 4K monitor, you probably notice sometimes if you're bringing in a large swath of bandwidth that the waterfall sometimes has some, let's say, less than desirable performance. And this particular fork addresses that issue. It actually has improved some of the rendering performance that you can see in the actual the signal that's being displayed in the waterfall. So you'll see some improved rendering conditions. So if you happen to be running at 4K and maximizing that window at 4K, this particular build might be the right one for you to look at. Another new feature is the bundled FT8 decoder. And this is pretty interesting. If you happen to have your own SDR, which I happen to have an RTL SDR, so it's not the greatest in HF performance, but it's the newer version, so it's not bad. It's completely usable. And if I bring in a decent chunk of bandwidth, and if I'm in an amateur radio band that has an FT8 frequency in it, you'll start to notice call signs appearing at the bottom of your screen. And they have it set up so it's sorted by groups based upon how far away they are, which is pretty interesting for displaying purposes. So like right now I'm looking at my screen and I see at the very top of my screen over 1,300 kilometers away. Yes, it is in kilometers. You can't change kilometers into miles. That's the only thing I have a problem with. But there has a Delta 2 Uniform Whiskey on there as the first one that found. And it shows not only the call sign, shows the mode, FT8, and it also shows the signal strength in a little graphical sort of bar graph underneath the call sign. So it gives you an indication of how high that signal was when it was actually decoded from the FT8 channel, which in this case I'm watching 20 meters right now, and that would have been at 14.074 upper sideband. And it doesn't matter where you are in the band. Like right now I'm listening to a signal or watching a signal at 14.237 on sideband, and because that's in my pass band that I have with the SDR plugged in and bringing in signals, it's automatically decoding that. And if you switch bands, it'll wipe all of those off your display, and it'll show you the ones in the band you're in if you happen to be having that part of the band in your in your bandwidth of your entire Bluetooth signal path. I forget the right word there. But so it's nice. I don't know how useful it is because obviously I'm not using it for transmit or anything else like that. But it is kind of a neat little extra add-on if you want to see like how busy stuff is on your pan adapter or your SDR++ waterfall. It kind of gives you that in a nice succinct display. It can get very noisy. Like right now, I see probably 40 call signs on my screen, and they kind of stay towards the bottom of the waterfall. So it's a pretty nice addition to the software. I think it kind of adds a little something extra that is not in the mainline branch of SDR++. And this would probably be one of those things that I could definitely see them adding back. I'm going to skip a couple down here and just kind of cover some of the other ones before we get into actually listening for some of the features. They've added a Hermes Lite 2 support. There's a discovery procedure, which I think is an improvement on finding connected devices to your system, including TCP connected devices. There is a transmit mode. So if you happen to have an SDR that allows you to transmit, like the HackRF or the Pluto SDR or something like that, you can enable transmit mode. I believe it works right now with single sideband. So I'll actually use the microphone on the computer and run that all the way through out to RF. It has the ability to do QSO logging, which is one of the features I haven't really tried. And I probably won't try it in the context of this particular podcast. But they do have the ability to do logging in here. Obviously, logging is one of those things that, excuse me, everybody sort of does with their own favorite tools. So probably no need to really have logging here. But if you didn't have logging, this would be something else that you could add to your stack for logging QSOs. It has the ability to look at web SDRs, which is compelling for those of you that did not have an RTL SDR or any of the various dongles and stuff like that to connect. It also has KiwiSDR support, which is also like a lot of the receivers that you see in that receiver.de or whatever when you're trying to look up open WebRx servers and stuff like that. Now, this is a really cool feature because you can come in and up where you have your device selection, which I'm going to stop mine real quick here so I can look at it and talk about it at the same time. The drop-down has the KiwiSDR. So if I click on KiwiSDR, it gives you a new little information on the left-hand side under your source, and it allows you to choose on a map. So when you click this button, it pops up a nice little map, and it'll query the receiver list, and it'll show you all of the active receivers and some inactive ones. The inactive ones, I think, are gray, and the active ones are green. And you pick them on a world map. You can zoom into the map, pick one, and you do it by selecting one of the green ones, and you click the test server button. And if it passes a test, which means it's alive and you can connect to it, you can click on the use test server, use the tested server. And what this will do is actually select that as a source, and then you can hit play, just as if that source was your connected SDR, which is really kind of cool. So it allows you to kind of use your same interface that you're used to and be able to play around with somebody else's SDR. Now, the one limitation to that is that the web SDRs and the Kiwi SDRs are limited to 12.5 kilohertz. So it doesn't give you a lot of bandwidth to play with, but it gives you enough to kind of play with the SDR. And for some reason, my other SDR is not coming up, so I'm just going to restart the software.
I'll say the logging feature is probably quite good for SWLers, especially since a lot of people use SDR for receive only. But if you're doing SWL, logging would be a good feature to have because you're probably not using another kind of logger if you're not actively transmitting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I realize now I was typing RTL TCP when mine's directly connected. So that's why it didn't start. It didn't crash. It was just operator headspace error. Anyway, so that's kind of like the really compelling feature, I think, of this particular version, which kind of is what drew me to it at first, was being able to kind of use those web SDRs / Kiwi SDRs for bringing them into the application, because then you have the power of the application as well to use it, and you're not kind of in like the open WebRx view or just the web SDR, UI and stuff like that. So I think that alone kind of makes it interesting. And I'll mention it now too, that this there's versions for even your Android phone. So you can bring this up on your Android phone, connect to a Kiwi SDR, and listen to SDR without an issue. I've also set up RTL TCP here in the house to do some testing, and I connected to my RTL SDR via RTL TCP with the phone as well. So that was pretty slick and seemed pretty seamless to use it. For transmit modes, there's a self-monitoring using digital modes, so you can actually monitor your signal going out. There's a new SNR chart, signal noise ratio chart, that you can see on your selected frequency. So I'm currently watching 14.237, like I'd mentioned earlier, and I'm watching a signal there, and I have on top where the actual peaks and stuff are, there's actually a graph being drawn above that of the signal and noise of the signal that I'm currently listening to. and I can see that it's 30 to 40 dB worth of signal to noise. So that's kind of an interesting look as well at the actual signal path of the stations that you're listening to. Let's see here. Multiple output of audio devices support. Well, that sounds pretty self-explanatory. Instead of having a single audio sync, you can send this to multiple places. If you already were using, tools like QPW graph or something like that within your Pipewire system, you obviously can already do that anyway. You can just cheat by dragging and dropping that audio path to other devices. So you can hear it in two different places. And I just showed Russ that the other day, that he could play sound on both his PC speakers and his HDMI port at the same time.
Yes, which is an exciting feature until you get into that state of aphasia because it's off by about 20 milliseconds and suddenly you can't think anymore. But other than that, yeah, it's a great feature. And don't forget about it because if you forget about the fact that because it's obfuscated from the UI. So if you make a change to your audio paths inside the Pulse Audio stack, it doesn't show on the UI. So don't forget you've been messing with stuff.
Yeah. When you're given the power, right? Sometimes too much power is too much. Let's see what else here. More display scaling factors. This is probably not a huge deal with most modern desktops and their monitor setups and stuff like that. But with the improved rendering performance on the high DPI screens, I think that'll be much approved of. Small screen support. Obviously, a small screen you can probably use as your cell phone, and it looks great. It scales well, and the application is completely usable on a cell phone screen, even though that's probably, at least 1080p plus, But normally it's scaled up so you can actually see it. Otherwise, you'd have a very minuscule display, which would not be very good for using, especially with, big fingers and a tiny, tiny screen. Bandwidth slider, I believe that is, what is that? I don't think I've actually used that feature. I normally use the zoom feature to do stuff, but I believe that affects things like how much bandwidth is actually going to be used for doing noise reduction, which we'll come to in a minute. The TCI protocol, which is another new thing. I have no idea what that is, and I took out the actual notes that tell me what that is. So I can look at it real quick here. Scrolling. So TCI is a basic implementation of the TCI connector, which is a protocol for remote control of transceivers by software. It currently allows only unidirectional stream from SDR++ to consume here. And here it's for MSHV and a bidirectional synchronization of frequency, etc. It supports both audio and wideband data transfer to the consumer. The author plans to add bidirectional transfer and couple it with SDR++ Brown transmit pipeline. So far, it works for the author with the MSHV. Version 2.69 is tested, but it has not been tested by someone else. So please become a tester and demand the TCI support from all software you see. So I'm assuming that's for very specific hardware, which I do not have. So I cannot share that with you. And let's see what else we have. And a frequency manager. So an improved frequency manager. This would be your bookmarks and stuff like that for handling various frequency saves and modes and everything else like that. So a couple of the other feature I want to talk about, which is why I'm going to do audio here from the SDR, which hopefully the band hangs in there, is the noise reduction, which I think, the things that I think make it really compelling for this is the noise reduction, because it does such a darn good job at taking out the static and everything else. It does kind of make the signal sound a little bit more digital, but it's not too bad. So let me flip over to the other computer, and I'm going to bring the sound up here. And I'm moving my microphone so I'm a little bit closer to the computer that I can control. And I'm going to turn up the volume. And of course, let's see, there's not a good signal there. So let me find a signal real quick here. I see a guy intermittently calling right here. So let's tune this guy in. I'll turn it back up here. Oh, of course, it's in Spanish, but we can use it as a good example. He's got a big signal. Oh, he's not in Spanish. It's just Spanish sounding. So this is regular. So there's two different noise reductions that they have. This is one. This is the audio noise reduction 2. And as you can see, it's very computer based, right? So that's without, and that's with. So without and with. So the other noise reduction thing that they have here is baseband noise reduction. And this lowers the noise floor across the entire band. It's not quite as noticeable until he starts talking, and then you'll notice that the bass noise goes away. And you can put both in place. But there you go. That's kind of the sound. It has quite an impact on the signal. So it really reduces that noise floor. I think the baseband noise reduction is a little less harsh. It's almost like an improved auto gain control on the signal, and the other one is a bit a bit digital noise reduction to the full extent. So you hear a lot of those digital artifacts and stuff like that. I'm not sure if it totally came across in the audio, but I was noticing it in the headphones. So what do you think about that, Russ? Did that come across okay?
Yeah, it sounded really good, actually. Some of the big signal came through really clear. Some of the other ones, of course, were not coming in quite as loud gain-wise, so they were a little hard to distinguish, but you could definitely tell how the signal got cleaned up by the filters. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think it's a huge improvement over just the baseline. And again, this is on the RTL SDR in my on my vertical here in Montana on 20 meters. So I wasn't even, showing signal on the other guys, except for a couple of them you could barely make out there. But yeah, this guy's just booming in here. He's, 45 dB signal noise on his particular signal. And that's just the default settings for the filtering and everything else. But you can see how much of an improvement I think that makes to at least the experience. You can kind of play around with that. But you might run into that same issue that I did in that video that's up on our YouTube channel. Again, apologies that my voice is in the left side. I, for some reason, didn't notice that my microphone on that computer was recording on one channel only. But anyway, I think that really does make it a compelling thing. So here's the roadmap direction for the fork of this development project. He wants to keep it in sync with the original project. He wants to hear and decode more. So this could mean more modules to decode other digital signals, which I think would be excellent. He wants to transmit with ease, with attention to Android for portable operations. And again, this kind of makes it, somewhat compelling to use your cell phone with your connected, full duplex or whatever HF transceiver, which is an SDR that you can connect into this. And to add more non-canonical and controversial ideas. Now, this is quite compelling. I want to know what controversial...
Before you wander off into controversy, you want to spin the dial down a few cycles and see if you can find the CW signal and see what the filters do with CW?
Yeah, we can find one here. Give me a second to dial one in.
Mike is asking.
Okay, so here's a signal, no noise reduction. That's with the baseband noise reduction. You can already hear that signal a little bit better. And of course, he just finished, so we'll come back.
You didn't push to talk if you're trying to talk.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a good one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll see how this one comes in. This is with the baseband noise reduction on. And I'll turn it off for the next run. Not a whole lot of difference because I do have it filtered down for CW. I'm going to turn on the audio noise reduction too.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
that is quite impressive. So yeah, it's completely silent right now. Yeah, so yeah, it seems to do a pretty good bang-up job with signals. And obviously, you can do a combination of your filtering and using the noise reduction stuff in parallel, so you can really fine-tune it. And it could be a very very nice and pleasant listening experience at a minimum.
Mike says he likey. Mikey likes it.
Mikey likes it. Yes.
Mikey likes it. Yes.
Yeah, and obviously with a really good SDR instead of my little $29 job, I'm sure it would be even more amazing. So yeah, it does a pretty good job. I'm continually impressed by playing around with it, and obviously I will work on other signals like AM and stuff like that. But you pipe audio files to, yes, you can. You can, files is a source for, this is what, Don is asking, KB2YSI. Files are a source that you can set up for, using SDR++ and SDR++ Brown. So you can process pre-recorded audio. Just waiting for the chat room if there's any other questions. Cool. Hearing none. Yeah, I think it's an interesting derivative to look at. And if you're already playing with SDR++, this is definitely one I think you should try. They have on their on the GitHub page, they do have the ability to download the rolling release. So let me click into that without the control key pressed. Yeah, so if you look at the releases, they have a rolling release. And they provide builds for Android, so they have an APK file there. So you do have to, enable, dev mode / remove security for downloaded APKs if you want to load it on your device. I've loaded it on my phone and on a tablet just to see what it looked like on a tablet, a little junky $50 tablet that I had sitting around just for giggles. They also provide builds for Debian Bookworm, Bullseye, Buster, macOS ARM, macOS Intel, Ubuntu Focal, Jammy, Mantic, and Noble. And as well, you can download it for Windows x64. So seems that all the builds are there. The current build, which I think is the one I'm running, was June. Well, I have the June 13th build. And the one here they're showing was 2 weeks ago. So that might be is that the same one? Trying to do math. Yeah, that's about right. So yeah, I think June 13th. Is the one. June 13th, 2025 is the current build that they have as their rolling release build. So we have the links in the show notes to both the website and the GitHub page. So feel free to go check it out, or a simple Google search or whatever your search engine of choice is can probably find you the SDR++ Brown.
I thought you were going to get into controversy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what the controversy is. I was kind of, when I didn't even read that. Let's see. I'm going to look at their site real quick and see if they have the controversies listed there. No, they do not have the controversies listed there. They just have and controversial ideas. And I'm assuming there's a at the end of that.
All right. Well, it sounds interesting. I have enough RTL SDRs around here that have been sitting around for a different project. And I think I'm just going to go install this and play around with it that way. Seems really cool. Yeah, it's definitely been pretty neat to play with it, and I've been flipping back and forth between using my SDR and the KiwiSDR connections, and I mean I still kind of like mine better because I can kind of see more of the band at the same time, and with the limitation of the KiwiSDRs being only at 12.5 kilohertz, you pretty much have to be, knowing exactly which signal you want to look at, and you won't experience the decode of the FT8 signals unless you're actually within the
bandwidth of the FT8 signal for that particular band. So it'd be really, really tight. So you might as well just be listening to the wah.
Well, you don't think FT8 is pleasing to the ear? You don't keep your radio volume up when you're doing FT8?
Well, I keep it up just a smidge, just so I know that, you know, the waterfall is not lying to me.
Fair enough. Well, if you're getting decodes, it's probably not lying to you. So
yeah, and I found out something with my particular systems. I know we have very similar systems. I think yours is maybe like a model revision behind the ones I have here, but we have the same model number, strangely enough. But I found that, you remember I was having problems with the cat control and stuff like that disconnecting after a period of time?
Uh-huh.
Well, if I use a powered USB hub that actually has separate power, I don't have that problem, because apparently it's a power management issue with the USB ports when it goes into whatever, not sleep mode, but even like a low power condition where the monitor powers off and stuff like that. It tends to lower the power on the USB ports a smidge, and some of the devices do not quite like that. I've never had any problems with phone, microphones or speakers or webcams or anything else like that dropping out. But I have noticed a slight issue on my particular system with cat control, and that's both with the connector for the CIV control for the IC703, and as well the control box for the FT450, which is that what is that called, the DCU17 or something like that, SCU17. And ever since I switched and started using a plugged-in hub, a powered hub, everything works fine, and it doesn't disconnect, and it'll stay connected forever. So if you happen to have a problem where your cat control goes to sleep and you haven't figured it out yet, that could be a fix for you as well. And it was, basically a $29 spend on Amazon to fix that problem.
I wonder if there's a kernel flag for that.
There most likely is, and I just haven't found the right combination of one to do that. It's something very specific with this particular machine, possibly, or combination of parts. And there's no control over that in the BIOS that I can find. So I see no power management affecting USB ports, but there clearly is an issue.
Oh, interesting. May have to take a further look into that, because these HP systems that we both have, the Victus 15Ls or whatever, they definitely have some issues with power management.
Yeah. So it might be something to look at for you. You might see all those problems go away. So I bought two. Well, actually, I have three of them, because I was using one anyway for my my little laptop that doesn't have enough ports. And I preemptively bought one for this machine that I'm on now, but I never plugged my ham radio equipment into it. So I never resolved my own problem that I was seeing on this machine. It's only when I moved all my stuff here in the shack and set up the other computer that I noticed that, it's fixable.
All right, very good. Well, I think that brings us down to the end of the topic for the evening. We do have links in the show notes for additional information, and of course, Googling for SDR++ Brown will get you where you need to go. So with that, I guess we need to get to our feedback, and we do have feedback. It's amazing.
Lots of feedback.
Your YouTube video on Commodore OS has generated some feedback. The first one here is a comment from Mr. Al Haynes. He said he installed it for fun and was really disappointed based on MX Linux Mate, which sucks. It does a nice job despite the major disadvantage. It is slow and locked into the user Commodore, which cannot be replaced, or the apps will fail. Many of the apps fail anyway because they're missing the most important part, the ROMs. Well, there's a reason they don't include ROMs in distros. just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
X64 just sits there at the loading screen, does nothing at all, even after putting the ROMs in the right place, which they give you no clue about. Well, if you're that far into it, you should know where they go, honestly. The basic language errors out no matter what I try. The panels are crap. The overall performance is so slow that I spent more time waiting for things to load than playing them. After a week, I deleted it and went back to Linux Mint and installed most of the apps there. So there you go. Not a glowing review of Commodore OS.
Well, it was a very similar experience I had with it. I mean, I did do the video on it, but obviously by Hamvention, I had gotten rid of it because it was on the computer. I was bringing it to Hamvention, and I needed it to act more normal. And there was a lot of these hints and kinks for some of the items that you ran into, which you most likely found on the forums, because that's where I kind of started to look for and found a lot of the answers I was looking for. But yeah, this is a very specific use OS, and obviously it's still in its its infancy stage. So I think they have a lot of way to go on it, and it shows some potential. I think overall it's not a bad idea, and it's surely not the worst distribution I've run across.
Absolutely. There was a viewer of the video who responded to that comment, so I'll let you read the response.
Yeah, this response was from Glenn I83, and he said, well, I enjoyed the idea behind this. Got good vibes from it. Small issue here could be if you are like me with new hardware, the driver support is not the best. So I could tell you there are some minor hiccups here around my system. That is running the AM5 X870E MB, so that's the motherboard, an RTX 4090. The driver here is for NVIDIA Works, but it is pretty old. It's based on the 535 driver. Kernel was around 6.12, I believe, so that is not bad. But when you come from rolling distros, you can see the difference in a new system. I tested it first on the older version, 2.0. That did not go so well. After first update, my system was just a black screen. However, this did not happen with the 3.0. It was a pretty huge update after the 35 gigabit install, so they have been working with a lot of stuff. This is right now as it is more fun the practical from the distro's perspective. I'll try to look into my options here. Yeah, so this is a very good comment, and it takes appreciation for the fact of what they're trying to do, and obviously updates are heavy in it. Even when I had the install, I had to run through a ton of updates, and I never really ran into a boot issue or anything else like that. But my system I was running on was an AMD laptop with AMD graphics. So in general, I always expect the AMD full suite to sort of work fine, minus the power USB management issue that my other AMD machines have.
Yeah, and just to reiterate the fact that 35 gigabytes is the download on this thing. It is enormous, like well beyond any other distro you might try.
Yeah, definitely the kitchen sink is in there.
Absolutely. We also had a nice comment from Sparky over on Blue Sky, which is a place you can join us on if you so desire. He says, a podcast mixing Linux and hedonism. Finally, someone gets my idea of a good time. Yep, you're not the only one.
Woot woot.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time now, so welcome to the party. And we have one more comment that came from Mastodon, so we'll let I responded to this one directly to the user, so we'll let you
Sure. Yeah, this is a Mastodon comment from M0RKM. He says, you do know that it's not about cost savings, right? It's because we in Europe have massive trust issues with your country. Listened to this episode and was less impressed by your overall reliance on AI to generate content. Okay. What did you say back?
I said I understood his feeling about, mistrust in the U.S., but of course Microsoft is simply just a corporation inside the United States. And there are reasons to mistrust Microsoft as well, I suppose. This was in reference to our story about European Union countries getting away from Microsoft and switching to open source. And as far as the AI generated content, I basically said we don't use AI to generate content. We only use it to mangle content for comedic effect, basically. So it doesn't.
Yeah, it is a running gag. And we do acknowledge that fact too. We try to see how badly it can malform a summary of a story.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't use it to derive content. We use it to screw with content, basically. That's was my response. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that brings us down to announcements, which are basically, if you can help support us, please do over on Patreon, PayPal by buying some merchandise, and of course subscribing on YouTube, which there's new content going up there for real now. So check that out. And it's not a super long list of new subscribers, supporters, and such. So I'll let you hammer on through this. Should only take a second.
Sure, yeah. There's no new subscribers or Patreons, no free Patreons. And let me move down here so I can see everything on the list. Yeah, so on Twitter X, we had at Bravo Zulu QSL join us. No one on YouTube joined us. On Discord, we had 9 parsecs. On Instagram, no one joined us. Mastodon, we had a few here. It's at M7V and at Stories with a Will and at Frenn, or Frenne, however you would say that. We had at W6KME join us there. Over on Blue Sky, this one kind of puzzled me. It was an at P14ZWN, which is not a call sign. Is it L?
I think it's an L.
Call?
I think it's L, yeah.
I don't think that lined up to a call sign either. So,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so whatever that is, they joined us on Blue Sky, so welcome. And on merchandise sales, looks like Bill Schwartz has bought some merchandise, so that's cool. No one on the mailing list, and over in the live chat, we had someone pop in and out right when we started, but I didn't get them. But we do have QNDZ here and is still listening, so hopefully they're enjoying what rant we are talking about this evening. Tony, K4XSS, Mike, K6GTE, and Don, KB2YSI.
All right, very good. So if you get a chance, maybe try the SDR++ Brown edition and see if it does good things for you. I hope you enjoy it if you give it a shot. I will definitely be checking it out myself. Bill's already been playing around with it quite a bit. I mean, just the noise reduction feature is amazing all by itself. So pretty good looking piece of software. And of course it's written in C++, so it's speedy. So with that, we'll go ahead and let you get back to whatever it was you were doing before you started listening to the show. Thanks to everybody who listens, whether in the live chat or posts. We really appreciate it. And thanks especially to our supporters who help keep the lights on. We really, really appreciate that. And with that, we'll catch you all next week for episode number 586. But this has been episode number 585 of Linux in the Ham Shack. And for the on assignment, Cheryl, W5MOO, I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Live recordings are Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time. Our homepage can be found at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast via Patreon at patreon.com/LHS podcast. We're also on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Mastodon. Contact us via email at info@lhspodcast.info or via voicemail at 190954777469. That's 1909 LHS show. We also have merch. So until next we meet, remember to always heed your hedonism.